Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the singers, the singers only. The singers only. Hey, you guys, it's Kristal Cherelle from Indie Artist School. Welcome to the Singer's Arsenal. Today, I'm giving you the ultimate studio checklist. Now, I'm going to separate this into two buckets. The first is going to the studio and having someone professionally record you. And the second is recording yourself. Now, the reason I'm separating them is because they require different levels of expertise as well as different skill sets and different tools that you need. Recording with an engineer in the studio. The first thing that you need to do is make sure that your songs are actually ready for recording. Now, it may not sound like a big deal, but if you go to the studio and you don't have all your songs ready that you plan to record, you're going to be wasting studio time, and time costs money, honey. So make sure that you're actually ready, meaning your songs are completely written, like you're not going to be changing up a lot of things and second guessing yourself in the studio. And you want to make sure that your song has been tested. One thing that I have to say about this is I know that, you have creative ability and you want to be as artistic as possible, but it does help to make sure your songs are something that other people want to hear as well. And one of the ways you can do that is peer review it, let your friends and let your family hear it. Maybe post a sample of it on Instagram and just see if it gets feedback, or maybe do an open mic or something like that while social distancing and make sure that you're actually recording the songs that people are receptive to. So the only way you'll know that is by testing it out. Just saying. All right. And the next thing you want to do in order to make sure your songs are ready for recording is make sure that you actually know your song. I know that sounds like duh, but let's be honest. A lot of times, you might have just written it and you're really excited and you're already ready to record it. And so you jump into the studio and you go in there and you realize, man, I really don't know the song that well yet. So the ways that you can make sure you memorize it is, practice singing it. And make sure that it's how you like it. And also, I recommend that you do actually bring your lyrics in, bring voice memos of you singing it, just in case you happen to forget when you're in the studio. Things happen, and you might need to refer to it. But whatever you do, do not just hold up your lyrics in front of your face and record that way. And the reason why is because it loses emotion when you do that. It's very hard to have an authentic performance when you're focusing on words on a page. You're not really able to tap into your emotions as much, and it makes it a little bit more difficult for you to sing with dynamics. So just make sure you memorize it. It just really helps you have a better outcome. All right. And last but not least, make sure that your song is already arranged to the best of your ability, at least. Meaning, make sure that you've thought about your harmonies, and is it something that you're able to reproduce? Are your ideas bigger than what you're able to do? Think about that too. Do you have ad-lib ideas? And this is something that you could even collaborate with someone else who's strong in this aspect to help you with this. Vocal arrangement can be very complex. You may want it to be a very experimental type of song, or you may want to have it feel a little bit more predictable and familiar. And so either way you go, you want to make sure that you've planned your arrangement. Are you going to be singing harmonies in your song? Are there any particular words that you want to emphasize? Get all of that in your mind before you go to the studio. You don't want to have your engineer doing all of the heavy lifting. Now, you might have a producer in there or someone who's helped you arrange the song with you in the studio to help you, and that's fine. But just make sure your engineer is just focused on engineering. And I'm guilty as charged, guys. Sometimes I go in the studio by myself, and sometimes I second guess, and this is definitely in the past, but still there were moments where I was like, well, what do you think? And the engineer's just like, hey, look, I'm just here to record you and make sure that the recordings we get from you sounds the best it can. Okay, until we built a relationship, then it's different, but still, that's important. All right. The next thing you want to do is make sure that you actually have the right engineer and the right studio. Okay. Having the right engineer and the right studio is so important because it can make or break a song, if I'm honest here. It's very difficult for a good engineer and a good studio to make a song that's poorly written or poorly performed sound good. Like, you're giving them so much more work to do, but they can make it, approachable. They can make it doable. They can make it acceptable. But if you have a really great song and a poor engineer or a bad studio and bad sound, the quality drops tremendously and your song might not even get the light of day. So you want to give yourself the best opportunity. Now, here are some things to make sure that, you get the right studio and the right engineer. Make sure that you're not basing everything on the cost. I know you want to save money, and you may even think that the more money you spend, the better quality you're going to get. Scrap all of the numbers, guys. I want you to focus on the quality of work that studio and engineer is putting out. Listen to the songs that they've done before. And when you listen to them, I want you to pay attention to things that have to do with audio quality, not necessarily the performance itself. Is the mix, well done, or is it really muffled, or, do they have songs in your genre that they've worked on? I know that might not sound important, but it just shows that they have expertise in the way, your genre does music. There are some things engineer-wise that happen, some styles that come to play here. Another reason why it's good to consider the genre as well is because it makes sure that your engineer is not just sitting there hating the whole entire genre and then working on your project. Like, you want to make sure that the engineer is passionate about, what they do. But if they don't like hip hop and you're a hip hop artist and you go in the studio and you're like, I have a hip hop track, I really want to do it. You could be the best in the world, but your engineer is probably not going to be present. Now, that doesn't mean that that's a good thing. That actually means that they're not very professional. But let's be honest. It's hard for anybody to pretend to be passionate about something they're not. And let's be real, like, the more passionate you are, the better work you do, the more invested you are in the outcome of the results. And so you want your name to be a part of it. So you want to choose someone who actually likes what you do, not necessarily your music per se, although that really helps a great deal. But you want to make sure that they at least have interest in your genre and can actually add something to what you're doing, okay? The next thing you want to do is make sure that they are in your budget, okay? We have to consider that. Like, sometimes, if you don't have the money for it, you just don't. But your budget can be adjusted accordingly. So if you have a certain amount of money and you had plans to make a full-length album, and then you find a good quality engineer and a good quality studio, rather than saying, okay, I just can't go to that good studio with a good quality, I'm going to go to this other one that's subpar just so I can record all my tracks. It's better for you to, maybe cut your project down and get what you can get done and have it be pristine, have it be good quality. That's important, guys. All right, so the next thing that you need to do to be able to be ready to record in a studio with an engineer is to be prepared for your session. Being prepared for your session is not just about, having songs ready, but it's also about making sure your voice is ready, making sure your performance is ready. It's about making sure you come to the studio in the right attire. And what I mean by that is not just showing out for the sake of being seen in an Instagram video or something like that, but just wearing something that is easy for you to sing in. Loose clothing helps a great deal here because you can project more. Maybe don't wear heels. You know what I'm saying? If you're wearing heels and you have to stand for long periods of time, that might not be comfortable for you. In fact, I personally like to be barefoot when I record. That's just me. Okay. All right. And the next thing you want to bring with you to the studio is room temperature water, and lots of it. Another thing you need to consider is not eating right before the studio, or if you do eat something, make sure it's light. Make sure it's not something that's causing you to burp. Make sure that it's not something that is, making you have to go to the bathroom or something like that. I like to eat bananas, like one banana on the day of, because it's alkaline. It doesn't cause the acid in my stomach to bubble up or anything like that. And it doesn't really cause me to burp or anything. And it's make sure that I'm not hungry. Cause I know it can be tempting to be like, you know what? I don't know what to eat, so I'm going to eat nothing. I'm nervous anyway. But as you go on and you get into the studio session, you might start getting hungry. So even if you don't eat right off the bat, bring something that you can snack on that's still good for your voice. All right. And another thing you need to make sure you do is make sure that you sleep well. A rested body is a healthier body, and you're going to be much more resilient and present in your studio session if you get rest. I know it can be tempting to want to cram everything the night before your studio session to make sure you're quote unquote ready. But the best way to be ready is make sure that your voice is ready, because it doesn't matter if you've memorized the song, but you've lost your voice because you stayed up too late rehearsing over and over again. Like, give it a rest and just trust that you've done what you needed to, or reschedule the session if you're not ready. But whatever you do, don't go to the studio drunk or sick or not rested, okay? You don't want to do that to yourself. You're going to kick yourself later for wasting the time and the money on that session when you know the outcome's not going to be the best you can do. So never settle, all right? And the last but not least thing you need to do is know your voice. Knowing your voice really helps you make sure that you're not booking your session at times that are not optimal for your voice. And I stress your voice because I know that there are things that we see in media about, you know, everyone recording late at night and all of that. And that sounds cool and all if you're already a night owl. But if you're not a night owl like myself, I'm not. I go to bed, okay? And so late at night, I'm tired. And if I'm tired, my voice is not its best, okay? So for me, this is just me, but for me, I perform better in the afternoon. I perform better in the late morning, okay? Not early morning because, you know, I'm still getting warmed up, and you may find that to be true with yourself as well. But either way, just know your voice, know when you're your best, and make sure that you are booking your sessions accordingly. Now, I know you have to book your session according to when the studio has time, but don't sacrifice your quality for the sake of getting an early appointment. Okay, just because they say they don't have any available bookings for weeks or something like that, don't take that time slot that you know you won't be your best. And if you just absolutely cannot move your schedule, and the only time is a time that's not normally optimal for your voice, you got to do your homework and prepare your voice ahead of time. And that means getting on the schedule to where you are most active and your voice is strongest at that time. Okay? All right. And then another thing that you need to do before you go to the studio, guys, make sure you have a structured session schedule. What I mean by that is make sure that you are actually, have an outline of what songs you're going to do when, how much of it you're going to do in your session, how many hours you're booking at a time, what's best for you. And honestly, if you've never gone to the studio before, I don't recommend you book large blocks of time, even though they might give you a discount for doing that. You may not do your best work like that. You might get burnt out, or you might find out that you and the engineer don't even vibe, okay? But here you are stuck with them because you booked a whole day, okay? Don't do that to yourself. Try it out. See how much work you tend to get done. See what's normal for you and what's normal for the engineer that you're working with, and plan accordingly, okay? So start small and build. All right. Before I get into the second bucket, which is recording yourself, I want to invite you to support this podcast by going to anchor.fm/thesingersarsenal/support. I really enjoy creating these episodes for you guys, and I honestly couldn't do it without your support. So for those of you who have already donated to subscribe to this podcast, thank you so much. You are a real one. And if you want to be a part of this group and you want to support the podcast so that I can keep going, go ahead and visit anchor.fm/thesingersarsenal/support. Also, if you want anything like lessons, virtual lessons one-on-one with me, or want to check out some videos as well as book a free consultation with me or get a t-shirt, I mean, whatever you want, go ahead and visit my link tree, which is linktr.ee/Indie Artist School. That's linktr.ee/Indie Artist School. All right, so now let's get into this second bucket of things. If you want to record yourself, here are some tools you're going to need, okay? Like, I'm just going to keep it real with you. First of all, this isn't even on the list, but I'm just going to tell you, manage your expectations, okay? Because I know you know, things are so accessible now, and you can feel like you could do anything you want. And that is honestly the truth, but it's not going to come without hard work. Okay. I can't stress this enough. Recording yourself takes so much, and it's a good thing. Once you have it, it gives you so much freedom. You can release music whenever you want. You can have full creative control over the music you do put out. So I know that there are great benefits to recording your own music, as well as if you're a writer, you get your ideas out exactly the way you intended. So there's a lot of wonderful reasons to do this. But here are the things you're going to need. First thing, you're going to need a lot of experience of recording yourself. And what I mean by that is not just, you pressing the button and hitting record. I mean, you having a lot of experience on being recorded, okay? So you know what your voice is like, you know how to produce the sound that you want from your own mouth, okay? And you know what a good recording of your voice sounds like, so that you know what it is you need to strive to achieve, okay? And to reproduce and even improve on. But if you have no idea what a good quality sound recording of your voice sounds like, it can be very difficult for you to know how you're doing as you're doing this yourself, okay? So just make sure you have experience recording in a studio first before you try to record yourself, all right? So that's the first thing. Second thing, you want to invest in a good computer that has a lot of storage and RAM, so that you can run the programs you need to record yourself and not have it crash as much and cause a bunch of frustration that will really kill the vibe of your session, okay? So just make sure that you have at least, I would say, 1 terabyte of storage, or maybe more. You can even invest in an external hard drive to do that. It's something that you plug in, kind of like a USB, except it's bigger, and it can store your files there. It really helps you have more space if your computer didn't already come with it. And then the next thing that you're going to want to have is good amount of RAM. It has to do with your processing speed. I don't know that much about computers. I just know that the less RAM it has, the more frustrating it is to do things that have a lot of power behind them. Okay. So, 16 gigabytes, 8 gigabytes of RAM, usually pretty good. All right. And then the next thing you need is a good condenser microphone. I'm going to show you, if you're watching my video, so you can see this. All right, so for those of you who watched the video, but I was just showing everybody my Rode condenser microphone. It's a Rode NT1A. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm just a fan, okay? You're gonna experiment with different types of microphones. Different microphones can enhance different parts of your voice. Some of them are more true to your natural voice, and some of them might emphasize different tonal qualities of your voice. So you may find that if all the settings are the same in your DAW, which I'm going to get into, but you have a different microphone, your voice will sound different. So it is true that the microphone does matter, but it's not everything, okay? The biggest thing you just need to make sure is that it's clear. That's it, really. That's all. All right, and then the next thing you're going to need is maybe, and this isn't for everybody, it depends on where you live, but you want to sound treat your room. Ultimately, you might not have the ability to make modifications, but you can hang things up that will help dampen the sound. You can hang up foam on your walls or something like that, so that the sound won't bounce off of your walls as much. Or you can get something like what I have here, which is a sound screen. It's foam it's foam and it's surrounding my microphone. It makes a tiny little booth. Or you can also get a pop filter. That's important as well. This is not an or, this is an and. Get a pop filter so that your S's and your T's and your P's are not, peaking in your audio. Because once clipping happens, meaning it gets distorted, you can't correct it. You're just stuck with it. So yeah, it's very important that you have that. Also, the next thing that you're going to need to be able to record yourself is a good DAW, which is a digital audio workstation. And this is the software that you put on your computer that allows you to record your voice as well as put together, instrumentals and tracks and everything like that so that you can create an entire song. All right. And now there's several DAWs out there. And these vary depending on your operating system or the type of computer you have. Some of these only work on, Apple products, and some of them only work on Microsoft products, and some of them work on both. So these are by no means in any particular order, but some common ones are things like Pro Tools, Logic, Ableton Live, or Audacity. The list goes on. There's several. Okay. So, you want to try one that works best for you and is compatible with your computer. And I think it's important to consider things like the ability to expand what it can do. So is there ability for you to add plugins? How expensive are the plugins? Other things to consider is it user friendly? Is it pretty intuitive? Is it easy for you to work with? Or is it really frustrating and annoying to get? Also, another thing that's important is if you're collaborating with other people, like producers or other artists, is it compatible with the more common systems? Like Pro Tools is pretty much industry standard. So it's helpful to know that just so that you can easily import projects with other people. So that's helpful too. All right, so the next thing you need to have is education. I can't stress this enough, you guys. It takes time to learn how to engineer your own music. It's actually another career. Think of it that way. Instead of thinking I'm an artist and I record myself, understand that you are trying to be an artist and a sound engineer. And that's two different types of careers, and they use like totally different sides of your brain as far as I'm concerned. One of them is a lot more analytical and strategic and fine tuning things. It's editing, it's looking at little things, and it takes time, patience, and attention to detail. And so it's a skill that you need to acquire just purely on your side, meaning you learning how to work that way. And also you need to learn the program. And there's ways you can do that by, going to YouTube and finding tutorials in the DAW that you're working on, as well as maybe going to school and taking sound engineering courses. All of those things help. Just be easy on yourself, okay? Don't expect to get it down and for your music to sound perfect the first time you try, because I'm guaranteeing you it will not sound like what you thought it would the first time, okay? And you're probably gonna bump your head several times, even years, before you get the quality that you desire, okay? Just understand that it also takes this next step, which is patience. All right, and I wanna go back a little bit because I almost forgot. But another thing that you're going to need is an audio interface. And basically what that is you can even use an actual hardware mixer, a physical mixer as well for live performances as an audio interface. But an audio interface is basically what you connect your microphone to connect it to your computer, okay? That's all it is. There's several out there. I'm not even going to recommend them. I'm just telling you that you're going to need that part as well. So yeah. So I know that there's a lot of stuff I covered today. I told you this was the ultimate recording checklist. So I wasn't kidding on the ultimate side of things. But yeah, if you want to learn how to release your own music as well. So say you recorded your own stuff, or you went to the studio and you have music and you want to release it and you don't know what the next steps are, go ahead and visit my website, indie-artist.teachable.com. I have an online course on there, you guys, called the Indie Artist Toolkit. And I give you the introduction to singing, as well as, how to release your own music, as well as registering your music for royalties and things like that, so that you can make money through the sale of your music, as well as other revenue ideas. So yeah, check that out. That's indie-artist.teachable.com. Also on that site, I give virtual private one-on-one lessons. So yeah, check that out. I hope this has been helpful to you guys. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day.
Yeah.